In this video, I'm gonna show you how to set up your store so you can start selling properly on Etsy. Now, there are so many videos out there showing you how to do the initial store setup, so I won't cover that. Instead, I will cover how to only sell to the US, how to set up your VAT ID so you don't have to pay for any VAT on top of your fees, how to set up a proper returns and exchanges policy and how it works in practice, how to ensure that you're not breaking their handmade policy, and also some very important store settings so you're properly set up for POD. Now, I've done over $1 million in revenue in less than 3 years as an Etsy print-on-demand seller from Sweden. And how this process actually works in practice is that you research everything, which niches to sell in, which products to sell, and how to sell it using a software called Everbee. When you've done the research, you create a design based on the research. And once you have the design made, you put your design on top of a blank product. And once you have your design on a blank product, like the image, you take that image and put it up on a marketplace like Etsy. Once an order comes in, you connect that order to Printify, and then Printify handles all the fulfillment and all the shipping. And you, as the seller, don't have to incur any risk with inventory, which is super neat. Now, so the first thing that we want to cover that's been highly asked, honestly, is to how to only target the US on Etsy. And it's honestly a super simple setting. So the first thing that we do is that we go here to settings. Settings. And then shipping settings. Then we create a shipping profile. Let's see here. We press here, create profile, and then you fill all of this stuff depending on the production partner you use. I will cover this later in the video, so make sure that you stick around for that. But for the time being, how you actually know that you're only targeting the US specifically is that you only have the US selected. So let's see here. First, we add the US. So this is kind of how you add the shipping profile. And depending on the settings that you want to use, depending on how you want to do it in your own store, these can be definitely flexible, dependent on the shipping times that you want to provide in your store. But to only target the US, which is the main question that we're asking now, is that we are just doing it like this. Now, it seems like I can't remove Sweden. Let's take custom range and then 1 to 5, maybe 1 to 5 days for processing time. And then the United States is the country of origin. Okay, so I made some mistakes, and now it's swapped. So the country of origin is the US. And for instance, let's say that we're using Monster Digital. I will cover this more in depth later on in the video. And we just do this. And then we see that they are located mainly in Florida or Juarez in Mexico. But we'll use the Florida one. So this one, and there we go. If this is kind of how it looks and you only have one country here selected in your shipping profile, that's how you know that you're only targeting the US, because only people in the US, where your items actually can be delivered to, will be able to purchase from you, because dependent on where the customer is actually looking from, they will get different search results. So if a customer is looking from the US, they will be able to see your listings. The gist of it is that if you have only one country selected here in your shipping profile and the country of origin is the US, which it is when we're using POD with apparel, for instance, on Etsy, then you're only targeting the US. It's that easy. It's just a shipping profile on Etsy. The second thing that I want to cover that's really important is your VAT ID. So I would highly recommend that you actually, if you live abroad in the EU like me, then I would highly recommend that you actually get a VAT ID. Otherwise, you're paying your VAT on top of the fees on Etsy, which is kind of crazy. So as an example, you'll pay, here I live in Sweden and VAT here is 25%. So on all the transaction fees, the processing fees, the Etsy ads, you'd pay 25% of that amount on top of the fees. So let's say, for instance, that I do 10K in Etsy ad spend in a month, then I would pay 25% extra on top of that, which is $2,500 extra on top of the 10K. So $12,500 instead of just 10K. Now, how it actually works is that if you provide your VAT ID on your Etsy, you don't have to pay any VAT in that case, which makes it so much easier to actually sell on Etsy. So I would highly recommend that you actually get a VAT ID, register it within Etsy. How you register it, it's super simple. You just go to finances and then payment settings or payment account. Sorry, maybe it's your legal and shop information. And then here, depending on if you're a business or even individual, it will say that here. And sorry, a lot of this will obviously be blurred for obvious reasons, since this is my own personal information. But here where it says your taxpayer ID, that's where you enter your VAT ID. And once that's entered into your store, you'll know, and you'll see later on too, that you won't incur any VAT on top of the fees that you pay on Etsy. The third thing that I really want to go over is the returns and exchanges policy. This is really important too. So first we go here, and then we go to policy settings. This is really simple. How to do it is you press create a policy, and then you accept returns, you accept the changes, and then depending on how long you want to, for instance, do returns, you can set that here. And you get this kind of banner. If you sell to the EU or like the UK, we have a 14-day right of withdrawal here, which means that you have to have that if you sell to the EU. But since we're not selling to the EU, we can leave this, we can even do this because we're not selling to the EU. We're only focusing on the US. It's really important to do that for many reasons, but it's generally just so much easier to actually sell to the US compared to anywhere else, and especially compared to the EU. Now, a lot of businesses just keep it like this, but the problem with just having it kind of like this is that if you don't have a lot of reviews, and overall, like if you don't have a super solid offer and foundation to stand on with your Etsy store, it incurs more risk from the customer to buy from you, because they can return an item and they can exchange an item if something is wrong. And I'm a big believer in offering as much as possible and then mitigating all of like the issues with listings and with POD. Once that's done, like the return rate and the exchange rate is like less than 1%. That's been my experience with it. Having this on just enables so many more sales because they feel more safe with purchasing from you. Now, when it comes to dealing with returns and exchanges, it's just important to know that returns for POD people like us is just pure losses. Like I live in Sweden, I can't take any returns. And even if I wanted to, it'd be like a super hassle. So returns are just a loss on us. And if someone returns it, you can just ask them to return it to the return address from where it was sent from. Like if you purchased something from Monster Digital, they can use the return address that's on the package and just send it back. Everything that gets sent back will be donated, so they will be pure losses on your end. If there's any like defects or print issues or something like that, you can always ask for a picture to provide to Printify, and they will like 99.9% of times just refund you or send a replacement to the customer. It's super simple to do when it comes to like print defects. But when it comes to just pure returns, just know that they are pure losses on your end, and they can just send it back to the return address on the package. When it comes to exchanges, I think it's just important to know one thing here, and that's that you always want to break even on the sale itself. Let's say here that we go into the calculator here, the Everbee calculator. A shirt from Monster Digital costs $13.88. I just know that from the top of my head. Let's say that we sell them for $24.99. That means that we made $8.27 in profit. So if someone wants to exchange an item, it's really important to not lose more than $8.27. So, and how we can do that easily for a customer is to provide them with something that would be called a replacement fee. And now, the important thing here is that we know that, like for us, the cost of the item is the same, but we can provide this fee for the customer at a really small cost to them. So let's say that they purchase the replacement fee for like $12.99, or maybe even like $11.99. Like if someone purchases this replacement fee for $11.99, that means that we lose $3.52 on that sale. However, bear in mind that we earned $8.27 on the first sale, which basically means we gained about $4.5 to $5 in total on the sale, and we didn't lose that much on the sale in total. So that's kind of how we have to think about a replacement fee. We always want to make sure that we don't go, and for instance, we don't want to offer a replacement fee for like $6, because that means that we're going minus in total on the sale, and that makes this a lot harder. So we always want to ensure that we are always like breaking even or going at least green on the sales in total on both the initial sale and the replacement fee, because we just deduct the profit using our replacement fee. So the most important thing is to break even, and preferably always keep some profit when we're offering replacement fees. But that's how you basically deal with exchanges. Now, another super important thing to do is that they have this handmade policy. They redesigned this like last summer. Like for us, what it really means when it comes to selling on Etsy, it means that we always have to list our production partners that we work with and always toggle them on when we have our items produced by a production partner. How this works is that, let's see here, you go to settings and then partners you work with. And the same thing here. I'm sorry, a lot of things will be blurred since I don't want to out myself, but you basically add a production partner, And let's say that we want to do, for instance, Monster Digital. You can make this say Monster Digital, like you have to disclose it, but then you can have this off, and then for instance you can do a print shop, like it suggests here. And to have some information about this production partner, you just Google Monster Digital, and at the bottom of the screen here, you have their address, like their main address, I think. So then you just do location, city, state, country, city, state. So Miami Gardens, Florida, United States of America. Perfect. And something they print and ship our items while we focus on design, something like this. Why do I work with this partner? I don't have the technical ability or equipment to make this entirely by myself. What is your role in the design process? We design everything, or you can I design everything, but yeah, usually I just, since I do all of my designs myself, and they do have a requirement that you have to design stuff yourself. So you design everything yourself. It's what you put here. And what is your partner's role in the production process? And then they do everything for me. And that's how you create a production partner. And then when you actually list an item, it's just so important to always toggle the production partner on. And because if you don't do that and you forget to do that, it's super easy to do, to forget it, but then you can actually be regarded as breaking their handmade policy, because then someone else might produce it, not yourself, and you haven't really disclosed that within the specific listing that you're selling, and that can lead to a suspension of your shop. So really important to add like the different production partners on Printify that you actually work with, like Monster Digital or like USPTO is my main go-tos when it comes to apparel. Add them separately, and then if you use like both different times for at different times within the same listing, just add both as production partners within the listing. The most important part is that you just select production partners, that you basically show and provide info in the listing that it's made with one of the production partners that's connected in your store. So really, really important to not be breaking their handmade rules. Now, some other settings that's really important for POD is these ones. Let's see here. So there are lots of things that you can do here. The most important thing is that we can't offer gift wrapping. Some people ask for that during Christmas and stuff like that, so have that one disabled. But the most important two settings here is that you should not offer gift notes if you do, for instance, more than apparel, or if you offer like express delivery within your apparel, because you can only do gift notes for a select number of items. Like if you sell, for instance, other stuff than just apparel on Printify, you can't offer gift notes for all of the items, which makes it really important to not offer gift notes for anybody. And then once someone asks for it and you can actually like provide it, if someone buys an apparel order, for instance, and you can fulfill them with Monster Digital, then you can just use it that specific time. But it's really important to not offer gift notes at this specific point in time, as you can't really offer gift notes for every product that's being sold on Printify. You can just do it for a select few. And the most important thing apart from that too is the sold listings that you have as a seller. You want to hide them so that people just can go into your store and press sold listings, and they can see exactly which listings have sold well for you, which makes it super easy for like people to research your store and see what's selling the best for you, for instance, without using software like Everbee and stuff like that. Remember, Everbee just uses projections, but if you show your like sold listings, that means that anybody can just go into that tab and see what exactly has sold recently, or for a long time, honestly, for your shop. So you always want to hide these sold listings for you. And as the last bonus tip here, that's also really important. It's really important to keep your native currency, that the one that you have in your bank, within Etsy, because otherwise every payment that's being sent out to your bank will incur a 2.5% conversion fee. And that's actually 2.5% of your gross revenue. That's just a straight up conversion fee. So always keep your the currency that's in your bank within your store. And that was a bonus tip here too. So it's the bonus tip number 2. When it comes to like these shipping profiles, they are actually one of the main variables to actually selling on Etsy, because they display how long it will take for someone to actually get their item. So I would strongly recommend to have like custom range, always have this a custom range, because when there's any type of lag, we always want to like mess with the processing times to ensure that it's being delivered properly. But it's so easy to like change shipping times if we just change the processing times. So this could be like initially 1 to 5 days. We always remove the like other countries so that we're not delivering to any country except for the US. And the most important thing here, because there are so many different like options. And honestly, when we sell on Etsy, like if you've ever sold with Monster Digital, sometimes they're using DHL, sometimes they're using like a USPS. A lot of times for like express orders, they're using UPS. So I wouldn't worry too much about the specific names of each shipping method here, or like shipping service. I would mainly be concerned with the time aspect of these shipping services. So maybe like this one is 1 to 3 business days, this one is 2 to 5 business days, this one is 1 to 5, and so forth. Just ensure that you can meet like the shipping times when it's being shipped out with the amount set here. And then if you have any type of lag in your store and things are like not being shipped out because your production partner is like overworked during the holidays, just ensure to just change the processing times. It's so much easier, and just always leave this as is. I would recommend to keep this at like 1 to 5 business days, somewhere around that range. And I mean this specific part. So I would have this one at 1 to 5 business days, and this one too to 1 to 5 business days. Now there's not that many shipping services here that are actually like, it's maybe like this one, 1 to 5 business days is one that you could use, or like this one, which is like 2 to 5. But basically you always want to ensure that this part, the shipping service, matches the time it takes for something to actually get shipped to, and then to reach the customer's door. So the time from when it was shipped to when it has reached the door, because it really affects like conversion rates heavily.